Hello, saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Welcome to the Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast, episode 21, where we're talking about keeping things simple. That acronym KISS, right? Keep it simple, but we're going to keep it super simple. So there's your KISS, K.I.S.S. Keep it super simple. I'm going to tell you how you can keep your journey simplified. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast, where each week I will be discussing all things fasting and how it can become the most valuable tool in your personal toolkit so that you can live a long, healthy, and meaningful life. I'm your host, Vicki Sharon, and thank you for joining me. Okay, so we're talking simplifying the process. So we want to come into this lifestyle as just that, as a lifestyle. We don't want to think of it as a super restrictive, rule-filled, difficult kind of journey for us to think that we have to overly restrict, overly limit, and radically change so much of our lives just to make these changes mentally, emotionally, physiologically, bodily. It should be a gradual, slow, progressive kind of change, because the more we try to complicate things, it just becomes less of an enjoyment of process, and the harder it becomes, the easier then it will be thereby for us to derail and just end and give up entirely. And I don't want that for you all. I want you guys to really reap the full benefits of this lifestyle. I want you to feel the pleasure, the enjoyment, there's something in every single day that you can look forward to and find happiness and really, like I said, fully reap the full benefits of this lifestyle, because you can absolutely have the positivity of this lifestyle, and you can have it to where it works and it is a beautiful experience overall for you, because it truly can be. And I'm not just saying that, because I've lived it. No, I say this because I've seen it reflected in other people that I've connected with, not just locally, but across the country and across the world. I've heard from people that have really seen the changes that they've been able to implement in their lives ripple outward, and how that just affects everything. And I've told you guys this before so many times, and I mean it. I truly, truly mean it, where these small changes, like I've talked about tiny habits before, these small lifestyle changes that we make, they ripple and they cause like that domino effect that we know of, right? And it just continues and affects more and more change for the better in our lives. And it's going to obviously be a bit different in everybody's situation, life circumstance, et cetera, but it's beautiful, y'all. Like, it is a beautiful process, and it's one that when we first are getting into this whole lifestyle, again, as I've said it many, many times, and I'll keep repeating it, first and foremost, please do not ever, ever, ever think of fasting as a diet, as something restrictive, as something that you have to limit or set up these rules and regulations for yourself. Please, please, please do not. If you have that mindset at all, recalibrate and just kind of like shake it out of yourself and think about this as such a deep, natural, instinctive, innate behavior in our beautiful bodies that we get to live in, right? We know, obviously, when we're sleeping, for example, we're not eating when we're sleeping. And, realistically, we should be getting anywhere from 7 to 8 hours of sleep, which, as a side note, if you're not getting proper sleep in general, add that to like your list of like things that you should make sure that you're allowing yourself to fully get caught up on, because that's also, without going too much of a tangent, adequate sleep, y'all. Like I can't sleep, you need the proper sleep, especially in this lifestyle, in this process. When you're obviously in a sleep state, you're not eating. And, our culture, when you wake up in the morning, not necessarily with fasting, because we are restricting the time of day times that we're eating. Breakfast being titled the first meal of the day, right? Breaking the fast of when you were not eating as sleeping. So letting your body stay in that deep, empty stomach, fasted state is what your body knows naturally to do. And with this lifestyle, with this process, when you're starting out, as I said before, letting your body remember that if the stomach is empty, that's not a bad thing. If you have excess body weight and bodily fat, adipose tissue, whatever you want to call it, that's just energy stored in different compartments on your body that your body knows exactly how to use if it's able to. Because the moment we start thinking that it's the right thing to do to eat from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, we can't expect to have drastic, first, like lifestyle changes, right, in behavior, nor can we expect to have physiological reductions in our body weight, fully like composition, if we're putting food in our system all day. And especially if it's to excess, your body's just gonna be like, oh, she's stocking up, or he's stocking up, they're stocking up for times of famine, right? So keeping things super simple, again, for folks, as I've said many, many times in different outlets before, if you have never done fasting before, like I said, don't think of it as a diet. It's a lifestyle. The first lifestyle, simplistic kind of little tip I would give you is to just start slow, start easy. And the first thing, as I've said before many times as well, the focus should be on the fasting, hence the fasting focus lifestyle, y'all. Let the focus be on the fasting. Know that if you are the type of person, like I was, for example, where you felt like, from the moment you wake up, gotta put something in my mouth. Gotta have this, gotta have that, gotta put it in. If you have that mindset fixation behavior with breakfast is the most important meal of the day, gotta get this in, gotta have a full hearty breakfast, gotta have this. But yet on the other side of the coin, you're thinking, I have to shed body weight. I have excess body weight that I need to shed. How can we expect to let your body shed the bodily stored energy that's here if you keep putting stuff in? Why am I not losing any weight if I keep putting stuff in? And your body, meanwhile, you could be like I was, where I was just sore, sad, miserable, just all the time. And I see that and I hear that from a lot of folks with their thoughts, their feelings and emotions, the hyperreactivity to situations, circumstances. Without going too far on a food tangent, because that's another episode I did before and I may cover it again, but the processing components of the way that our food's made plays a significant role in our body chemistry and how all that responds together. So taking a beat, taking a rest with this fasting lifestyle, just getting started, keeping it simple, remembering that, if you have body stored energy, body fat, push back the time that you would have your first meal or first experience eating for that day. And keeping your body in a fasted state, if you have the habit of daily breakfast of a hearty, bacon, eggs, potatoes, what big full hearty breakfast, or whatever your, favored food is in the morning, it's going to be difficult at first. Of course, it's going to be very challenging. As an additional side note, hunger and the hunger pangs are actually a learned hormonal behavior. We can unlearn them. You can absolutely unlearn them. Keeping things simple and reminding your body that, hey, I'm in a fasted state. I'm going to delay the start of my eating for the day, starting so I can use the stored food energy that's here. I'm just going to wait to start eating around noon or 1-ish, and really listening to your body, taking inventory, like, how am I doing? How am I feeling? Am I stressed? Am I really stressed out that I can't have breakfast right now? And oh my God, I really want some kind of something or other. Okay, there's a couple things that you can do. I'm not going to go full into these tips because I do cover them in earlier episodes, but a couple things that you can definitely take and run with. If you're a coffee drinker or a tea drinker in the morning, put if you have to have like their cream or something in their tea or coffee, put full fat, like a heavy whipping cream, or like a half and half works really great. If you are the type of person that is like addicted to having these really overly sweetened creamers in your coffee, try splitting the amount of creamer that you put in with like half of that sweetened creamer, and then integrate like a half and half or a heavy whipping cream. That way you get that satisfaction and those habitual addiction that we have to that behavior, because we don't want to just go cold turkey, because you're going to deviate and you're going to dip and fall off. So, I would rather suggest and advise folks to wean yourself off in gradual steps than to just cut and eliminate it all together. Definitely have your cream in your coffee, all like I do it every single day. I did it all throughout my journey, and I was still able to shed the weight that I did. But integrating a fuller fat, a higher dietary fat content of creamer, especially into your coffee, into your tea, whatever you're drinking in the morning. The less of an insulin response that we have in the morning, the better off you're going to be. The less of that up and down of your insulin response and your homeostatic level and balance. It's going to keep your emotions stable, amongst so many other things. Keep you in that fasted state as well. Yes, it will keep you in a fasted state, even with a full fat creamer. Again, I've done it throughout my entire journey, so it's not going to affect. It's not going to affect you guys. Another thing that I highly advocate for, if you can stomach it and if you like it, in addition to your coffee, your tea with your full fat creamer while in the fasted state, obviously we want to be drinking plenty of water. That's super, super important. And also, in another little side note for you, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing at all, but obviously besides brushing your teeth in the morning, is you should be drinking at least 8 ounces of water first thing in the morning. I always have my bottle of water, right at bedside. So it's the last thing I drink before I go to bed, and the first thing I have when I wake up in the morning. And if you have access to one of these awesome metal bottles, like I don't know what brand this is, I'm not plugging any brand or whatever, but these metal tumblers, if you're the type of person that needs to have like that cold water, fill it up at night, drink about like half of it at night, and that way you still have like a relatively cool drink of water first thing before your feet even hit the floor. Drink that water. It's going to help hydrate, wake everything up, and get your day started nice and well. So we're prolonging it, focusing on the fasting, having your fat creamer, and the reason why we're having the creamer with the dietary fat levels as they are, and do not choose fat-free, because it will have added sugar in there. Staying with the fat content in your creamer especially is going to help with the satiety levels. It's going to help to minimize hunger pangs. It's going to help just kind of like keep everything stable and level. And that's something that you can just integrate easily throughout your day. With the water that, like I was talking about before, one of the things that I personally love, if you can stomach it, great. Highly recommend using carbonated water. I love. I have a Soda Stream. If you are able to get yourself a Soda Stream, which makes the carbonated water, I highly recommend it. I know personally, I've seen them all over like the Facebook Marketplace, resell, like sellers and stuff here. If you can't financially fees it to get it new, I'm sure somebody locally where you live is bound to have it for sale. I bought mine. It was new, unused, and it was about half the cost of new. So if you're a fan of carbonated water, that's the majority of the water that I drank. Very, very rarely do I drink regular, flat, unsparkled water. Again, I don't put anything else in it. It's just carbonated water, and I love it because that also will have that effect of the satiety and keeping you full, satiated, so that you don't have those hunger pangs, because with the carbonation and bubbles and that effect feeling that it can have in your stomach of like taking up space and making you feel like, satisfied. So I think that's super important. So water is super important. Like I said before, your food choices matter. I'm going to say that with like finger quotes. They matter. But again, whether you are fresh, new, finding out from fasting, or you've done it before and not been able to keep up with it, be consistent, have results, etc., etc., etc. If you have experience with fasting, or if you don't have experience with fasting, focusing on the fasting is going to really need to take precedence at first. Because again, as I've said in other episodes prior, diet culture in general tells you, count the calories, measure this, only this amount of calories per day. This is a bad food, this is a good food. Can't have this, don't have that. You need to punish yourself. And it's so much noise. That is so much noise, and so much, honestly, that is so much negativity. So much just negativity that just fosters a horrible, horrible mindset where we're beating ourselves up over imperfections, falling short, feelings of inadequacy, that we're not doing this right, that we can't succeed, etc., etc., etc. With fasting, I personally feel, again, from my experience, my journey, my results, and the results I continue to see in other people as well, when folks are able to, first and foremost, when we get into this consistent lifestyle of practicing our fasting every single day with these deliberate intentions of shedding excess body weight, the body will know over time, like even after a week, 2 weeks, you're going to start to feel deep, deep, deep down these changes in behavior, in cravings, in the way that you think and feel about food, even just from a modest 16-8, gradually moving up to an 18-6, then to like, if you want to do it in steps, it would be like 16-8, 18-6, 24, 20-hour fast, 4-hour eating, then an OMAD, and then if you feel ready, like a full 24-hour fast, 36, 48, 72, 96, however long you want to do it, but gradually, right? So even after a week of just a modest 16-8, you could absolutely start to feel the behavioral and taste bud kind of the start of that recalibration that happens in our taste buds. And again, like I've said before, your hormones run the show from head to toe. I feel like that should be like a shirt or a saying or something. Trademark. No. But anyway, hormones run the show from head to toe. They really do. And hormones being tied to our taste buds, the way that we think and feel about the foods that we eat and how they affect our thoughts, our moods, our physicality, our ability to do what we need to do every single day. And that these changes of what we want to have, or our craving foods that we love to have, or our treat foods or cheat foods, or whatever you want to call it, right? As I call them, are sometimes foods, right? So you're going to notice from even a modest 16-8 over time, even from a first 1 week of doing it, you're going to start to feel like, doesn't bother me as much. Going into that second week, it's going to be even easier. Going into the third week, it's going to be even easier. And you're going to get, it's usually, I've seen it in folks and everybody that I've connected with that has been consistent in their efforts. It's roughly about the month and a half or so, depending on the body, the hormone balance level, as well as like your metabolism, amongst other factors. you're going to become what this term is called, and Dr. Fung actually talks about this a lot. The term is being fat adapted, which basically just means it's that switch from being able to be a glycogen, food store in the stomach burner, over to a body fat adipose tissue burner. And that switch, the more that we flex that fasting muscle consistently every single day, focusing on the fasting first and foremost, not obsessing about counting calories, not obsessing about restrictive dietary choices, not obsessing about measurements and metrics and tracking them in an app and writing them down. If that shit stresses you out, y'all, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't waste your time. Don't stress yourself out doing that if it doesn't bring you happiness and pleasure and enjoyment in this process. Because over time, your body will become fat adapted. And as I've said before, it feels like one morning you wake up, or you may even feel it like, in the middle of a day, or it just may come to you. And this is why, like I've said before, daily check-ins with yourself are so, so, so important. You're going to realize one day, wow, oh my gosh, this is like a lot easier than what it was when I initially started. That, my friends, is called being fat adapted. It's that switch that happens deep, deep within. And it's not like somebody just comes up to you and flips the switch on. We have to do a lot of inner self-reflection. We need to remember that progress takes time, and we can't rush this. Keeping things simplified, listening to our inner thoughts, our inner feelings, our bodily sensations, etc. Super, super important over this entire process. From the moment we wake up, drinking that water, like I said, right? How am I feeling? What do I have on the docket today? Is there something that's going to potentially derail me? This is my plan A, but do I also have a plan B just in case? Having just, not to an obsessive level, but just kind of a general idea of, okay, this is how I'm hoping and projecting my day will go. But if things don't work out, then here's my plan B, for your fasting. If you intend on breaking it at lunchtime at work, or later on in the day, if you're further along in your journey, however you want to make it work for you. Allowing those food choices to come secondary as your body changes and adapts, as your body recalibrates the taste buds and rediscovers maybe old food that you had loved, in your earlier years, where it was probably like an all the time food, right? But you got away from that. But then you realize, oh, wow, I really like that food again. Or if you went through a stint of having salads for a long time, but you got away from that and went on a sometimes binge for however many months, years, whoever. I'm not going to judge you at it, because I've been there. And coming back and realizing, oh, I miss having this, or something reminds you of that. And oh, you want to try and be playful and experiment in this lifestyle. Being playful and open-minded, growth mindset of like, oh, I like this vegetable, or I like this, good dietary fat. What if I combine them together? And I think this might be good. Play with your food choices. If you want to experiment with like different food combinations that you've never tried or haven't tried in a while, that's the whole beauty of this process. Like just kind of shaking out the mental like thought rug that has been just sitting collecting dust, and just shake it out. And you figure and you see and you realize and experience all these possibilities, combinations of food, things that, again, like I said, that you may not have tried in such a long time, or that you've been always wanting to come back to, or needed a good reason to come back to. Here's your reason. Here's your motivation for you. So I think having an open, playful growth mindset on this journey, checking in with yourself daily, as many times as you need to, super, super important. Like I said before with meditation, I feel that's a super important part of this process. And again, that's something that I highly recommend for folks, whether you've done this before, whether you've tried meditation before, and maybe you're like, oh, I can't meditation. those are the type of folks that usually need the most type of meditation. And meditation, as I've said to different folks before as well, meditation doesn't have to be like sitting still, silent, and breathing. Anything that brings you into such a enjoyment, focused, relaxed state, or that brings you into that moment or kind of phase in each of your days where, you know, when you lose track of time and you're like, oh my gosh, it's already this time. I was losing track of time. I was, so busy having fun, or lost in the sauce, as my kids like to call it when I do it sometimes. Y'all, there's a term for that. And the term is called flow. And that's, in a sense, a form of meditation as well. So if you have that ability, or a hobby, a practice, an activity, or something that you like to do, y'all, that's still a form of meditation. And that's extremely beneficial to not just your body, your emotions, but your mind, your habits, keeping that away from, if you were like me, that hyper obsession and fixation with what food am I going to have next? Oh my God, I'm bored. I need to put something in my mouth. I need to be eating. Blah. We want to simplify. We want to simplify our life as much as possible. I see some questions popping up. I'm going to cover one more thing before I answer these questions. So hang tight just a few moments, folks, on live here. The last thing I want to cover here in this episode before I get to these questions, with keeping things simple, and I know a lot with diet culture will say that we have to obsessively make sure that we're moving and eat less, move more. Like, again, we want to break away from that. What you should think about instead is, I know from my studies and from experience in my life and people that I've been around and family members that I've lost along the way, sedentary lifestyles in our current global culture is so common, despite the efforts of, even if you are like, okay, I work out for 30 minutes a day, a few days a week, but most of the other time I'm sitting either at work, at home, commute, etc., etc. That's still a very, very sedentary life. However, it does not mean that things have to be stuck and stagnant in that habits for everyday life, right? Keeping things to a naturally active kind of lifestyle, or what's going to be to your best benefit. And what I mean by that is finding things that you do in every single day that maybe you could do a little bit differently, like tweaking things a little bit differently, adding a little bit of a like a micro workout element to it, so that maybe before your habit of doing something a certain way was somewhat sedentary, make an adjustment, make an adaptation to it so that it has an active, kind of like like I said, a micro workout sort of element to that. So you do get that physicality, like bodily, natural movement benefit of getting whatever task, obligation done, as well as benefiting your body in the movement and just active lifestyle that we need to all continue to live, because I don't want that for anybody. I don't want a sedentary lifestyle for any of you guys, for anybody, because I know I have seen firsthand what the effects of a sedentary lifestyle are, and it's messy. Like, it's really, really messy, and I see and hear about it much too common. And I think with this lifestyle, with the slow progress, is better than that like analysis by paralysis, I think I've heard, where we get super intimidated and think that, again, our culture, diet culture, says we have to work out X amount of minutes, hours every single day, and it has to be this way if we want these kind of results. Like, you can make cooking your dinner, making, doing your house chores, sweeping the floor. Like, that's one of my favorite things to do, y'all. Sweeping the floor, because I turn up the music all the way. Kids are usually at school. My dog, who's super old, he's like 14, 15 years old. He's just like, oh, here goes mom again. Oh, here she goes again. Crank up the jams, and I'm just like, sweeping the floor, whoop, whoop. And then I get out my mop, and I'm doing the same thing all around, or vacuuming, or whatever. little mundane chores and tasks that you have to do. Even just like if you've got, I don't have that watch on, but the Apple Watches, especially if you've got an Apple Watch, they have the reminders on them that will tell you, hey, sorry guys. The Apple Watch even has reminders, hey, you've been sitting too long. You need to make sure that we are standing, right? Take a break and stand up. Even if you take a break, stand up, walk around your house, or literally go outside and walk around your house and get some fresh air. Whatever you need to do, like the more active elements you can add to your everyday life, on top of everything else I talked about in this episode with fasting, your dietary choices and your lifestyle and your habits and practices, it's just another beautiful piece to this puzzle that it's going to make all the more enjoyable. It's going to improve the overall quality, health, longevity of your life. And y'all, like, it's a beautiful ride. Like, it is an absolutely beautiful ride. But don't take everything all at once and think you have to go full bore, changing everything all at once. Simplified. Keep things simple, but do the progression in steps. Once you feel like, all right, got that 16-8, okay, what's the next thing I can work on? Because honestly, that's what I remember most in my early journey, a part of this journey, right? When I first started out, I just kept thinking, what's next? What can I challenge myself with doing next? This worked great. I know this is going to work. What's next? What can I do next to challenge myself? So before I answer the questions, I'm just going to give you guys a really big hug. Listening or on live here, very thankful. Very, very thankful. All right, I'm going to take a swig of water and scroll back up because I saw there were a bunch of questions. All right. MCT oil and coffee. Yeah, you can. MCT is actually the mono chain triglycerides. It's what makes coconut oil as, powerful and healthy as it is. You can absolutely do that. Melinda, if you find that it helps and is beneficial on your journey, then absolutely highly advocate for that. I know there are I've seen along the lines, there are MCT oil based creamers out there. As long as you are enjoying that experience and taste and you don't feel like it's a super restrictive thing, then keep on it. Keep at it. Melinda says, I've never felt so satisfied getting the fat back in. You love soda water. Soda water is awesome. Yeah, soda water, carbonated water, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Excuse me, that carbonated water is like giving me a little bit of a bubble. Sometimes, carbonation side effects. Yay. Suzanne says she loves it, but it makes me feel so bloated. That can happen at times, especially if you're not used to drinking it. Just mix, I would say if you love it, but it makes you feel bloated, mix it up with a little bit of sparkling and see how you do. Daphne says, how long do you fast daily? I drink Diet Coke, which isn't great, but keeps me on track. Daphne says she does a 22-2. Daphne, I do now in maintenance, obviously. I don't have any need for deliberate weight loss in this maintenance. I love still the overall balance, emotional stability, and just lifestyle effects of fasting. So I continue to do it daily. As I said, I started with a 16-8. Most of my days now tend to be anywhere from a 16-8 or an 18-6 because I like just that, again, the feeling and extension of that fasted state. And if there are times where I allow myself to have these moments of celebration, indulgences, like my son's going to be graduating from 5th grade and summertime is coming up. My trip that I have for Greece for school is coming up. I know there's going to be a summer vacation coming up, but I'm going to be definitely allowing myself to fully participate in this. And I still am going to be fasting in some form every single day. So what day may start as like a 16-8 that allows me to later on in that day have like, when I go to New England, I like to have, onion rings and like the French fries and stuff from these different places that we go to. I'm absolutely going to participate and enjoy these things, but I know I can balance it out with my lifestyle, with an extended fast, like maybe an OMAD I would do like the next day with a little bit more activity while I'm in that fasted state. So you can balance it out very, very easily. If you find, Daphne, are you not allergic? Listen to me. Are you addicted to drinking Diet Coke? Because that's also something that you can wean yourself off of over time. And especially, like I said before, with that sparkling water, I know folks that have been able to wean themselves off of, the diet sodas with the sparkling water over time. But it's, again, progress over perfection. Don't completely eliminate foods that you have on the daily, because you will go through withdrawals with it. You absolutely go through withdrawals, and you're going to just find yourself derailing so much quicker than if you just gradually wean yourself off. And honestly, another big thing, if you are finding that there are foods that you are addicted to that are difficult to cut or reduce or eliminate from your lifestyle, educate yourself on why they're not that great for you. Look at the ingredient list and think, are these ingredients foods that I recognize, foods that I understand? Because you have to think, if this is I think Dr. Fung's maybe had said this at one point. If somebody says, here you go, you're an awesome person, here's a brand new Maserati, but you can only put premium fuel in it. Are you going to go and put like regular unleaded fuel in it? Absolutely not. The same is with our bodies. We live in these beautiful multi-million-dollar smart homes, right? They take fuel. We have to keep them running with fuel. And we can't expect them to be running optimally without any issues if we keep putting stuff in that our body doesn't recognize, that our body is like, what is this Frankenstein concoction food that you just put in me? I have no idea what this is. There's so many chemicals and colors and what? The more it has to work to recognize, work and digest and process it, the more your body's going to be like, what did you put inside this beautiful vessel? Knock it off, get it out. Then we have all these other issues that arise, again, from head to toe. The hormones get affected, your bodily digestive system gets affected, everything. We don't want that. Keep things simple, okay? Simplify. Melinda says, your body has changed from the inside out like liposuction. Absolutely. Melinda, you do a 20 and a 4. Seltzer water is awesome. Yep, I agree, Melinda. She says, it takes me a long time. My body was so out of control. I had years of a binging addiction. Girl, me too. Me too. I think I mentioned before on a different podcast episode too, where before we moved out of my late mother-in-law's house, and I remember very vividly, I remember now because it was kind of like, I had to like knock myself out of it. Before I even found fasting, I remember coming to from standing at the closet pantry with my hand inside this giant family-sized bag of cheese puffs, and I had opened the bag. Like, I had opened the bag brand new. And by the time I came to, like, there was hardly any left. And I was just standing there, like, just mindlessly eating. Yeah. I absolutely know that sensation. Janie says, what sweetener do you recommend? And when starting to fast, could you start day 1 like at 7 and then make it later each day until you reach the length you want to routinely fast? Yeah, Janie, you can adjust the time of your fast, of your window, of your eating window to whatever works best for you. I've consulted with folks who prefer to have their, if with doing a 16-8, ideally you're going to have like 2 smaller meals, right? 2 like decent sized meals, but they want to have them in the beginning part of the day. So they want to have the breakfast and they want to have the lunch, but they won't have the dinner, and they'll adjourn the, lunch and then close that off and not have any food until the following morning. Honestly, this fasting is so flexible. It's so adaptable to any lifestyle if you are consistent in your efforts, if you're deliberate, if you're mindful, if you're consciously aware and enjoying the process, if you just keep up with it and just trust the process, have patience with it, you can absolutely do this. You can absolutely cater it to however you want to do this. A sweetener that I would recommend, I actually don't really use sweeteners. I don't really... I've been very consciously aware and very, consciously aware to minimize the amount of sugar I consume overall. If you're referring to like coffee, for example, I use like an almond base creamer that has a good fat content in there. And I want to say it maybe has like 1 gram of sugar in there. But that's it. That's all I use in there. I don't add any additional sweeteners. So hope that answers your question. Daphne says, also 0 sugar water flavors. What's your thoughts? So if you're referring to like those ice drinks, my kids like those ice drinks. We don't get them all the time for them because there are sugar alcohols in there. Even though it says 0 sugar, there are sugar alcohols in there, which your body will respond taste bud wise and hormonally the same way, and it will cause you to crave more. So I prefer to stay away from them. Again, I'm a really big advocate. Very, very rarely in my house do I buy or bring in anything that's not water. Where I live in Central Florida, out on the outskirts of the city limits here, our neighborhood has very hard water. So we have one of those 5-gallon water bubbler tank things, and that's actually going to be one of our chores tomorrow, is to refill the water jug. So side note, if you have water jug refills and stuff, definitely advocate for refilling those and doing it that way. And like I said, I refill my bottle, and then I use my soda stream to carbonate that water, and that's what I drink. Like, that is very, very rarely do I drink anything else. Besides, like I said, I have anywhere from 1 to 2 servings of coffee in the morning, but I stop at noon every single day. So I hope that helps. All right, let's see. Daphne says, it's a weakness, Diet Coke, but I've limited myself. Yeah, see, that's important. So don't eliminate, just that gradual reduction over time. That's going to be where the lasting changes happen. Kathy says, I'm 60, any issues? Where'd she go? Kathy says, I'm 60, any issues for someone my age fasting? I am not diabetic. Honestly, if you check with your physician, your general practitioner, and they say that don't have any medical contraindications, then you should be fine. Again, I'm not a licensed medical professional yet. So I can't advise without seeing like your previous medical history and stuff, but I would leave that to your doctor. If your doctor says it gives you the all clear, then I don't see why not. And that's good to hear that you're not diabetic, because it is very, very common, as I'm sure you know. Janie says, yes, thank you. You are so welcome. Hi, Pam. Pam says she started this week, did 17 hours today. Pam, double high five to you. Woot, woot. You got this. Yeah. Pam, I am studying to be a board certified health and wellness coach. There's a fantastic program offered for Arizona State University graduates that do a specific program in the College of Health Studies that I am in at the moment, that upon graduation with a degree, a Bachelor of Science from Arizona State University specifically, because they only partner with certain colleges and universities, with graduating from Arizona State University and a Bachelor of Science with fitness science and healthy lifestyles major, I'm going to be taking the test through the National Board Certification for Health and Wellness Coaches. So it's not a program that has been around for a long time, but I know they've been around for a good few amount of years, and there are board certified health and wellness coaches, and this is what all directions are pointing me into. I think also I may eventually seek out the possibility for licensed dietary nutrition licensure from the state of Florida. I may also look into, there's a program that I actually considered doing before signing up and applying to Arizona State University online through eCornell, through Dr. Colin T. Campbell and his university that he works with in New York, through the eCornell program with a plant-based dietary credentialing and licensure as well. So with my degree upon graduating with Arizona State, I definitely think that could be definitely. I think that could be something that I am willing to explore as well. I'm keeping my options open. I'm still seeing what's out there, but I know all directions are still pointing me, obviously, with health, consulting, weight loss, behavior modification, support with fasting, assisting others with their lifestyle modifications, almost to kind of the point of CBT, the cognitive behavioral therapy, but not to a deep, like, I'm going to become a psychologist. No, not to that, not to that level. But I really love, respect, and appreciate everything that I've been able to experience so far with Arizona State University, my schooling, their openness and willingness to hear and take into consideration my experience with my lifestyle with fasting and how drastic my life has improved. Like every discussion post that I have the ability to really spill my guts and tell my story, like essays and assignments where they say like, oh, in 1 to 2 paragraphs or however many words, like talk about blah, blah, blah. And it loosely relates to like health and wellness or like something that worked for you. If it's an opportunity for me to talk about fasting, you bet your booty that I'm just going to like talk about fasting, even to the point where you can tell I'm really excited because I'm talking really fast now. I apologize. Even last semester in the fall, no, it was earlier this year. Everything's just meshing together. Session A of this spring semester, I took a course in integrative medicine, like holistic, natural, alternative medicine, right? And one of the final assignments for this course was to write a research paper on, a different component of alternative, holistic, naturopathic, Ayurvedic, like whatever type interests you, and to really dive in and answer, like, and really do a thorough research thorough research paper. And I went full fasting nerd. The requirements were like 5 pages. I think I ended up having like 10 pages and not including the reference page and everything. Like I went full fasting nerd. And of course your girl got like 100 on the paper, but it was such a catharsis and enjoyable experience to put everything together from personal, academic, professional kind of stance. And I had so much enjoyment and happiness writing a research paper, putting all my reference lists together, my in-text citations, being able to quote and reference, points made by Dr. Fung throughout the process. I love it. Like, this is like, obviously I'm still very much an art nerd and I forever will be, but if you have multiple passions in your life, like, go for them. This is just like, this stuff lights me up big time. Jamie said here, I came across you today. So this is my first time listening and reading about the program. What are your thoughts on therapeutic ketones with intermittent fasting and keto diet? So I've talked about similar things of this before. This episode specifically is about keeping things simple. So from my personal experience, and I've been a weight loss coach for a partially ketogenic meal replacement weight loss program called Ideal Protein. And that was very measure this, make sure you count and obsess and do this and that. Oh, it was so stressful, y'all. And those ketones that I think they're called exogenous ketones. Forgive me if that's pronounced or the wrong term for it, where we take ketones, like, y'all, let your body do what it needs and knows how to do. Being in a fasted state, first and foremost, letting your body fully reap and use everything that's in the tank. And when the tank is depleted, your body will habitually, with that practice and that habit of getting into that fasted state, It'll know to burn. Hey, we got a little bit here. Hey, we got a little bit here. That's just energy. Your body fat is energy that has been stored away for later use. And by eating and eating and eating and eating and putting in stuff all day, we don't ever give our bodies a chance to use what's there. So fasting is taking a pause, taking a beat, and letting your body just be like, all right, we're getting into a routine. And over time, as I said earlier in the episode, you will become fat adapted, and you will be able to very quickly make that switch from being a glucose stomach food burner to a boop body fat burner. And your body loves being able to use your stored body fat, because I've said this before, body fat and dietary fat are the body's chef kiss, preferred form of fuel. Without going too sciencey, because I'm going to wrap things up here in just a moment, without getting too sciencey, whether body fat or dietary fat, as I've said before, when you're breaking with a fast, always aim for a dietary fat. Dietary fat, y'all. Dietary fat or bodily fat. Fat in general is the most preferred form of fuel for the body, because every 1 gram of dietary or bodily fat is converted into 9 kilocalories of fuel, of energy for the body, versus your protein and carbohydrates, you only get 4 kilocalories for every 1 gram. And I know I said I don't count or obsess or whatever, but that's a brilliant, awesome factoid that we all need to remember, that the preferred form of fuel is fat. What is it, y'all? Fat. And like I said, when we are letting our body fully reap the benefits of fasting and burning the stored body fat, beautiful things can happen, right? So much recalibration, balancing, stability, mental energy, focus, clarity, all this stuff just like happens. And this is just a natural process, a natural effect of this lifestyle, of this process. And this feeling, the sentiments, the way of life is a beautiful, beautiful ride. But as I said in the beginning of this episode, and the theme of this episode is, y'all, we want to keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate this. Don't think you have to bring in and put and use shakes and this and that and oh my gosh, and measure and count. Ooh, calm it down, simmer down now. Like, just keep it simple and know that fasting should be your first and foremost go-to. Because as I always say, I believe in you. I believe in every single one of you listening to this, watching me live tonight. I believe in you. This lifestyle is something that I want for every single one of you that wants it and is willing to hustle and work and deliver it to yourself. You can have this. You can have your after. It's a beautiful, awesome ride. Be present, be patient, be self-compassionate. You got this. You absolutely got this. You can have this. All right? I'm giving you all a big, warm, squishy hug. Warm, squishy hug. All right? I believe in you guys. All right? Have a great rest of your day, evening, wherever you are. And we will chat again next time. So bye, everybody. The Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast. Copyright 2022. The information given within this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult your doctor before starting any weight loss method. Thank you.
Fargo, the new virtual assistant from Wells Fargo, makes banking faster and easier. Like this.
Fargo, what's my checking account routing number?
And this.
Fargo, turn off my debit card.
And this.
Fargo, what did I spend on groceries last month?
And that's just the beginning. Do you, Fargo? You can. In the Wells Fargo mobile app. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/getfargo.
Terms and conditions apply. Your mobile carrier's availability and message and data rates may apply. Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.